Ba, 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 ba. I wish I was coming to you under better circumstances, but unfortunately, I've been the victim. The victim of fake news is what's happened here. So there's been some drama that's occurred in the last little bit. I'm gonna get right into the meat of it here. I'm not gonna lie. It's gonna be meaty and it might be gross at some points in time because fake news has taken over many aspects of our lives. I never heard the phrase before a few years back, and now it's all I can think of. And today, I was officially duped. All right, I'm not going to share anything yet. We'll do the share screen later. We'll get there in a bit. Okay, so basically, what happened is I woke up and I said, "Hey, all right, look at this all over the news today. It's the 30-year anniversary of Speed getting released. Speed release date 30 years ago, June 10th, 1994. So I guess it premiered a couple days before that and then widely released June 10th. So hey, lots of stories about that there. Yeah, there's Sandy B. That's right. So okay, cool. So I pop on over to twitterx.com as I tend to do some days, and I see a great account, an account that I've read many times before previously. And now I'll go ahead and share the old screen there. Let's share this guy. Let's go this way. Oh no, let's do this guy. Sorry. Oh no, back to this one. I'm terrible at this. Sorry, still learning around. Yeah, breaking. All right. So yeah, I read this dumb thing. 46 things. I don't know if you can see this. One of 46. I read this stupid All the Right Movies thread. Speed was released 30 years ago today, acclaimed as one of the great action movies. And so I'm like, awesome. 46 tweets. I'll go through here. I'm going to learn a ton about Speed. And so that's what I did several hours ago. I was like, all right, let me dig into this a little bit. Okay, cool. Look at this. Graham Yost. All right. He got all this stuff recommended by his father here. Started as this like 1985 runaway train flick, starred John Voight. And then apparently Yost swapped the train for a bus and wrote a script called Speed. And that script was optioned by Paramount, who saw it as a vehicle for Jeff Speakman. I don't know who Jeff Speakman is. That's probably my bad. I apologize. But he had a 3-picture deal with Paramount, and they wanted the Die Hard director, John McTiernan. Good action director. Nothing wrong with that. Next tweet, McTiernan thought the premise too similar to Die Hard, so he declined. The studio considered Michael Bay before McTiernan recommended his DP on Die Hard in The Hunt for Red October, Jan de Bont. Okay, cool. Right there, we do know that Jan de Bont eventually directed the film. I'm pretty sure he did Twisters as well. Badass movie. It says that McTiernan essentially turned this down because he thought the premise was too similar to Die Hard. Cool. I'm not going to go through all 46 of these things. You can kind of see, all right, now there's a change of personnel at Paramount, led to the studio thinking audiences wouldn't be interested in this movie that was set on a bus for 2 hours. So they put the script into turnaround. So de Bont and Yost took the script to 20th Century Fox. They greenlight all this stuff, all the fun. Sorry, you're now seeing birds. What was I going to say? So then they go through all this like potential casting stuff with Jack Traven and all these other people. Hold on, let me copy this over. Woo, you get that? There we go. So they copy all this stuff, and they're looking for Woody Harrelson, Stephen Baldwin. They don't copy anything. Richard Grieco apparently considered here. All this stuff where I'm like, man, I didn't know Richard Grieco was considered for this. I didn't know all this stuff was going on. So again, just 46 different tweets here. And then what happened is there's this guy, Chris Tapley, gentleman named Chris Tapley. A couple hours ago says, hey, I'm really sorry to do this. But these threads often spread so much unsourced mythology. And this is uniquely a corner of the world I feel qualified to discuss. So if I may. So basically what I was setting up there is that I read 46 tweets that may not have even been true. And at the very end of it, it says they source it with 3 different people. And so now then we got this guy who's got a rival podcast who apparently is dedicated entirely to the movie Speed. I think the name of this guy's podcast is 50 miles per hour. He does nothing but talk about Speed. So this is his MF and day. And he just comes in and starts dunking on these guys. So I'm really sorry to do this, but these threads often spread so much often unsourced mythology. And this is uniquely a corner of the world I feel qualified to discuss. So this first one here that we were looking at, it goes up to like 1 million views. Yeah, 1.5 million views. So This guy probably woke up and his blood is boiling. He's like, this is all I effing do for a living, is talking about speed for 30 years. And so he says, all right. And then he starts pulling out specific ones. Yost swapped train for a bus and wrote a script called Speed. The script was optioned by Paramount, who saw it as a vehicle for Jeff Speakman. We kind of covered that. And so, first tweet, this is untrue on both counts. Per former Paramount VP Don Granger, Speakman was never involved. This lore stems from Speakman himself. Also, the studio never got as far as directors. McTiernan was not offered Speed by Paramount. And then he breaks down, I discussed this in episode 4 of 50 Miles Per Hour pod. And you're damn right, Kevin. We do have to get this guy on. And this is unbelievable. Thank you, Rodeo MT, for all the love there. So again, John McTiernan, it was kind of set up like, hey, McTiernan's the one that they wanted originally, and he's the one who declined the offer and told them to get Jan de Bont. So again, he goes back through. McTiernan thought the premise was too similar to Die Hard, so he declined. Chris Tapley, the guy who runs an entirely speed-dedicated podcast, again, John McTiernan did not decline a Paramount offer. Also, Michael Bay was not considered, as this previous thread also indicated. Not considered by Paramount, but rather Mark Gordon during the Fox period. So I guess some minor details here that this Chris Tapley, who's probably a bit of a pedant, especially about speed, was more than happy to point out here. So actually, the change in personnel wanted to make Speed. So remember, there was an indication that a change of personnel at Paramount potentially led to the studio thinking that audiences wouldn't be interested in a film set on a bus for 2 hours. So no, apparently the change in personnel. A guy who only does a speed podcast. It's a dedication. There's only so much blood you can squeeze out of that speed turnip. I mean, I'll be lucky if we can do 20 to 30 minutes on this speed drama. We're lucky there's 46 tweets in this thread. But apparently it had unfortunately already been put into turnaround by Brandon Tartikoff's regime. All right, so that must have been another executive. I know the name Tartikoff. Is he the one who died from NBC? They thanked at the end of a Saved by the Bell episode. He might have been at NBC later. I don't know. Might have been a Universal guy. Although they weren't merged until the early 2000s. I don't know. Okay, next one. The villain of this piece is terrorist bomber Howard Payne. Jack Nicholson and Robert De Niro were both considered by the studio, but de Bont decided he didn't want a typical villain. Instead, he cast Dennis Hopper. Chris Tapley, this makes it sound like there was a choice. De Bont didn't opt for Hopper over anyone. Hopper was cast 2 weeks into production after everyone had already declined. The closest anyone else came was Christopher Walken. He details it. There's no hope with dope. That's right. It's like the end of a Saved by the Bell episode. It's probably the caffeine pills one, actually. That's probably why I remember it so clearly. So Christopher Walken. It could have been Walken instead of Dennis Hopper there. That would have been amazing. All right. The script was altered to include other scenes away from the bus while in development at Paramount, not Fox. That just seems like ticky-tacky stuff, but he wanted to clear that up. This overlooks the big rewrite Paul Antanasio did, which actually precipitated a desperate need to hire Joss Whedon to clean it up in the 11th hour. Okay, so yeah, that one's more just about, hey, somebody went and hired Joss Whedon to do punch-ups on this, and he ended up writing all the dialogue, specifically the pop quiz hot shot. Again, too much bus note came from Paramount, and Jan de Bont did not conceive the elevator sequence. It was in Yost's script from the beginning. It was, in fact, that scene that made producer Mark Gordon want to buy it. Okay, so yeah, one of the things that this original thread alleged was that Jan de Bont, the director of photography on Die Hard, was the one who pitched the elevator scene at the beginning there in order to make it feel more like Die Hard. But I guess that's what this guy, old Tapley, is like, no, that was in the original script. Definitely was not added in when a new director came on board. So, again, this guy is just taking all the right movies to task here. This is his day to shine, Chris Tapley. Gary Hines was the stunt coordinator on Speed. Tracy Bunting, a producer, does not appear to have worked on the film. That's got to sting. When the tweet in question says the stunt coordinator was Tracy Bunting and she called Speed the most challenging of her career. And then Chris Tapley comes in and says Gary Hines was the stunt coordinator on Speed. Tracy Bunting, a producer, does not appear to have worked on the film. So I don't know where all the right movies sourced that one. I'm going to trust Tapley here just because he only does a speed podcast. All right, here not a correction, and as I'd like to end on a less negative note, but just adding that Annie also watches Lolita on TV. Okay. In closing, please check out my podcast for the story of Speed from those who made it. And then you can see a lot of the stuff in this thread comes from IMDb trivia. You really can't trust IMDb trivia, but hats off to Chris Tapley. He came in here, cleared up a lot of stuff for me because I'll tell you, I would have believed everything I read several hours ago when this All the Right Movies post got now up to 1.6 million views. You can see I bookmarked it. I was like, oh, I'm gonna read that later. That's nice. I'll take a look through those 46 tweets, see if I can learn a little something about Speed on the 30th anniversary here. But all I did was just I'm victimized by fake news. That's right. All right, well, let's take it out of here with Tavares. I love you guys. Thanks for joining in. Give me Tavares one time.
Tavares, right in the butt. What? No.
No. What?
Blake.
This
is the best.
Yeah, that's it. This is the best. All right. Thanks, y'all, for hanging out. This was just a quick one because I spotted some speed drama there. I'll jump on. You never know. Got some random ideas. We'll see you next time. Later, cats.